I believe, there's an enemy behind our enemy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this goes back to me being a Christocrat. Like, there's an enemy behind the liberal mindset. It's coming from somewhere. If we believe that we are endowed by inalienable rights by our Creator, where does that come from? That comes from Judeo-Christian values. In that Judeo-Christian values, there's also, the character of our enemy, who is the enemy of all mankind. So, to me, he is the one, and his is the one that ties it all together. If you're speaking about a person, because it's the same thing that permeates throughout each thing. Now that can be kind of, spacey or loosey-goosey for some people, but I have experienced and seen. Okay, let's put it this way: there has to be the evil of abortion, right? There has to be something beyond our humanness that would allow for the millions and millions and millions of babies to be murdered, and now it is okay, and it is now socially you're a social outcast if you think that it's wrong.
Are you familiar with the background of the Planned Parenthood and?
Oh yeah, Margaret Sanger. Sanger. She was a jewel.
And she wanted to kill who?
Black kids.
Black kids.
And okay, so if we're going to talk about Margaret Sanger, this is something that really infuriates me, because
go for it, brother.
My job, I feel like, as a black man, that's quote unquote. Have you guys heard that term woke? Being woke.
Yes.
I hate that, but yes, it kills me dramatically. But yes.
So that means like we're enlightened, about social issues, but in reality they're darkened. Being really, for real, woke means that you see what things are for what they really are. And so with abortion, obviously, we know Margaret Sanger was a eugenist, into eugenics, and she would give speeches at KKK rallies, and it's quoted several times, although liberals will try to skirt this issue. It's been quoted. She quoted several times as saying that black people, minorities, the disabled, mentally challenged people are all weeds of society, and they need to be plucked out. And she further went to say that we need to use ministers in the black community, get them on our side, so that when we decide to want to implement this, that they will be more apt, meaning black people in general, will be more apt to listen to the black ministers than white people telling us to kill a baby. And we see the result of it. Millions upon millions of black children aborted every year. I don't know if you know this, Denton and Sasquatch, but if you go to the hood, the black communities, there is a Planned Parenthood just on the outskirts of every single hood in America.
I know that.
That's not a coincidence.
And it's not a coincidence that the majority of the babies that are murdered every year are black.
Exactly. And what infuriates me the most is that we still march to the polls and pull down that lever for Democrat without it. Like, okay, I'm gonna tell you something, and I really get frustrated about this. My aunt, I have a relative that a couple years ago, we were talking about just kind of in passing, talking about politics, and this is right when President Obama was, really pushing the gay agenda, and really, and now my aunts and my family.
Hold on. You're picking on gays? I'm gay.
I'm not picking on gays.
I am happy as could be. Oh, you mean homosexual?
Right, homosexual.
I'm sorry, I have this grammatical problem again. Homosexual and gay are not the same thing. I refuse to acknowledge their usurpation of the word gay.
Of language, right? You're right.
And give me the rainbow back too. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, well, the rainbow belongs to us believers anyway.
That's right.
But so homosexuals, when he was pushing the homosexual agenda, right? Mm-hmm. And so my family, as a lot of black families, are, believe it or not, very conservative in the practice of their everyday living, but they dare not say that, right? They don't. There's a disconnect. So my relative, we were talking about. I was like, "Did you see, what Obama was talking about?" And she's like, "Yeah, I don't like that at all. I'm gonna still vote for him, but I don't like it at all." And I just had to face palm. I was like,
"No, it's not just you. Republicans do the same thing. Conservatives and the Republicans do the same thing."
Yep.
Do you think we all agree to the crap that George W. Bush was doing?
No.
W. Bush was doing?
And no, we don't. But it's the echo chamber. It's the echo chamber, and nobody wants to feel left out.
But if you have the audacity to say something like, well, you have a choice between the Democrats, Republicans, or the Constitution Party.
Right.
You mentioned the Constitution.
What?
Yeah. What? A third party? You're nuts. You're crazy. You're just going to mess up the whole thing. Somebody else is going to win. And really, well, if they win, you lose. Either way, you lose.
Either way.
And that's the thing about Donald Trump. We love Donald Trump because guess what? He everybody hates him.
I'm gonna tell you what, man. After the first two debates that I watched of Donald Trump, I knew he was gonna win. I knew it.
Did you?
Because I picked him. I was like, yeah, he's gonna win because people, and they still are in the quote unquote flyover states, have been so fed up with being force fed, and look down your nose ideology. You cling to your Bibles and your guns, and for 8 years been told that your way of life that you hold dearly is now crap, but you need to take on my way of life. They got tired of that, and Donald Trump was unashamedly Donald Trump. Obviously,
Melania is acting like such a primo first lady. Yeah. From what I've understood the last couple of days, she had the White House purged. What do you call that? The oil and everything.
Anointed.
Because she didn't want to go in there with a demon-possessed place.
I did not know that.
Well, that's what I was reading. Paul Begley. I was reading.
Wow.
Yes.
See, okay, I'm gonna tell y'all something. And again, we can talk about whatever we want to, but it seems to have like kind of a spiritual bent to it, which is great. My pastor is actually on the spiritual,
advisory.
What is it? Advisory board. Yes, he's on that board.
Really?
And yes, he is on that board, and he has said, people have gotten to me, the liberal left have gotten to me for being on there. He said, but I have to have a seat at the table. And he'll come back and sort of report on things. And he's like, this is, he's like, I'm telling you the truth. They pray every single morning. They have Mike Pence help start a Bible study in the Oval Office.
Now, establishment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just saying that
God can use them still. Don't get me wrong.
In general, it is a more, it is the most, what do you call it? Positive. They have the most liking towards Christian thought that we've had ever in the history of the recent history.
They're not establishment.
No, what is the good thing about that is not so much. I mean, for me, yes, because they're Christian, but for the entire country, we're not all Christians or whatever. But why that's good is because we have found that capitalism, bolstered by Christian ideologies, lifts everybody up. Atheists, whatever you are, Christian ideology along with capitalism lifts everybody's boats up. Now
I'm enjoying about this is the fact that, for example, Melania, if you look in her past, you'll see some. She was a model. Right. You'll see some questionable pictures.
Right.
Okay, we'll say that. We'll just say questionable pictures. And some of the things that Donald Trump has said in the past are, we'll say, questionable.
Indefensible. I get it.
Indefensible. But you see how they're being used. Both of them. Not one, not the other, but both of them, tandem, they're being used for the country and for the good of Christianity. And not when I say Christianity, I'm talking about the good of the country.
Right.
With our ethics, morals, and principles.
Right. And again, like we said, you don't have to be a quote unquote Christian to benefit from them.
Exactly.
And so, yes, Trump has, and what's hilarious to me, it's so funny because just me living out my life and being a dynamic person that I am, whether I try to or not, it has influenced my sister, her husband, both my parents, and so my dad is an avid Fox watcher. When he came from, came from a family before we were born that was staunchly Democrat, and so just kind of when something I read today that's really hilarious, and I read it and I heard Candace Owen say this, that Black people in general, and I can attest to this, that we don't really pay attention to politics a lot in general, and why is that? Because Black people in general are focused on trying to pay this next bill, trying to, make sure their kids don't get drugged into gangs. They're trying to figure out how to get the next thing for their house. It just really got their head down and trying to live, through struggle or whatever. A lot of them are really trying. Go ahead.
A friend of mine, just a couple of weeks ago, pointed out, and this is a guy that's making, he's Black and he's making closer to $200,000 a year than $175,000 a year, pointing out the fact that Black folks don't even give a damn about the Constitution.
See, here's the thing. It's not that we don't care about the Constitution. I would disagree with that. I think that, matter of fact, I think that Black people subconsciously care a lot about the Constitution. You try to go to a Black person and grab their check at the end of the week and say, we're going to slash this in half and give it to those people that aren't working. They're going to fight you tooth and nail and knock you down and say, you the heck you are. We and I say we because I'm part of that culture. We care a lot about what the Constitution says. In theory, not in theory, in how it plays out in our lives, But if you, when we talk about it, we don't realize that a lot of Black people in practice are more conservative than you would ever think.
I've noticed that.
Yeah. In practice,
I've got friends who are liberal, the liberal voters, but in life they're like me.
Right. And what is that term when you say rhinos, Republican in name only?
Yeah.
A lot of Black people are limos. I guess you could say liberals in name only. In my experience, being Black, growing up around all my Black folks and everybody, in practice we live out a conservative life. Now I will tell you this: a lot of that has been slowly changing because of the influence of media and stuff. But generally, we lift up working hard working for what you get. There wasn't a permeation of, get your welfare and stay to that for the rest of your life. That wasn't part of our culture for a long time, and then somewhere along the line, that seeped in there. It was a time when we looked down on that as Black people.
When I was a kid, now I was born in '63, and so I guess I'm a product of the '60s. The Black folks, when I was growing up, were hard workers. They were very independent. They were very conservative.
Yep.
And anything besides hardworking conservatism, they didn't tolerate. And
I'll tell you right now, honestly, in practice, we still don't. which boggles my mind. And I've been trying to figure this puzzle out, right? Again, if you go, name any conservative ideology about government. Let's say, we want a small government. We want to keep the government small. Why do we want to keep the government small? So that I can make my own decisions about my own life, right? Mm-hmm. So if you break that down, but don't use the term liberal, Democrat, this, that, and the third, you don't use that with black people, they will generally, I would say almost 85% of the time, side with a conservative. I talk to my grandmother all the time. My grandmother is a Democrat. And she agrees with everything that I say. Like, she agrees with everything I say, but she's a staunch Democrat. She's got a picture of Obama on her refrigerator. You know, she was a honorary delegate, you know. But if you talk about the principles and what we are, you know, about, she will line up with conservative views. But then when you start using labels and terms, then she slides back over to Democrat. So I'm trying to figure that puzzle out. Like, why is that happening? I think it has something.
We were talking about this earlier with my lead man, Kenny Miner, who we agree on everything if we're just shooting a breeze, you know?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Without politics involved, we are on target every step of the way. But you bring up the name Trump or Obama or Democrat or Republican, bam, it goes off the rails.
See, and I'm gonna tell you why. I think I still haven't gotten, you know, a full like this is exactly why, but I think I know why. And it goes to something that we were talking about earlier as well. The messaging of the Republican Party and conservatives, how it's been packaged, we have lacked sorely our quote-unquote marketing of our message. The Democrats, the liberals, they are masters at feeding you poop inside of a brownie and making you eat it and thinking that is the greatest thing on earth, but you're sick throwing up from the poop in the brownie. They're masters at it. And I think that started when LBJ and you know, the Democratic Party back then decided to switch their strategy up. Instead of trying to beat down blacks, then now we're going to give them handouts, and they use.
I believe that we all understand that because, oh my goodness, for I don't know how long, LBJ has been the demon of the Republicans or the conservatives.
Right.
But how is it that the black population didn't see this? I mean, yes, we understand that if you get handouts, you're getting a handout, you're getting something for nothing. But right. the intellect says somebody's paying for this. Now, how do they miss this? Because the blacks that I knew in the 60s weren't that stupid, I'm telling you.
Somewhere along the line, the message was not passed down. Because, you know, and this is kind of getting into like black history and in our own community. In the 30s and 20s and 30s and somewhere in the 40s, there was a schism between what's called the black bourgeoisie, which are still today, and then the regular man. And the two people that like represented those two companies, one was W.E.B. Du Bois, and then the other was Booker T. Washington. Mm-hmm. So W.E.B. Du Bois was like, and the black bourgeoisie were advocating for you little regular people don't know nothing. Let us deal with the white man and get what we can, and then we will divvy it out to you as we see fit. And we need to, you know, let us fight for you. And then you had Booker T. Washington on the other side that said, screw that. We need to work hard. We need to prove ourselves. We're way behind because of slavery, so we need to work hard. And yeah, it sucks, but you have to do 10 times, and this is back in the 40s and 30s, you have to do 10 times more than the next guy in order to prove yourself, but we need to be able to prove ourselves so that we have a seat at the table. And so there was a big schism between that, and it's somewhere along the line, the W.E.B. Du Bois part got a hold of the civil rights movement, and that's where you get the Jesse Jacksons, the Al Sharptons, the equivalent of that today are the entertainers. They say, we know better than you because we sold 1 million records, so listen to my ideology.
Yeah, this is going to be kind of crazy sounding to you, but when I was a kid, I believe I was in junior high or elementary school, I can't remember exactly, but Jesse Jackson came to my school.
Did he?
He did, and this is in Ozark, Alabama, and he made us all stand up and say, "You are somebody,"
Right.
He didn't care if you were black or white. Back then, he didn't care. He was talking to all of us. Somewhere along the lines, he got bought out.
Well, here's the thing. And, I can talk all day long about Mr. Jackson. And
well, at that time, he was an actual preacher.
Right. Well, okay. See, a lot of black people will tell you this. If you really sat around in the barbershops and some of the older black people, they will tell you that we've all had suspicions that Jesse Jackson wanted Martin Luther King's spot. Yeah. And to a lot of us, he has always been a charlatan. Same thing with Al Sharpton. To a lot of us, they don't want to say it. They will say it now, but in the 80s and the early 90s, nobody would want to really say it in public. But we all felt it that Sharpton was a charlatan as well.
Well, he was. He came out of the starting gate that way.
Oh my goodness, yes.
But the one that was really kind of disappointing was Jesse Jackson, to me, anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, so it's that's a personality thing with him. But the black bourgeoisie, I think they had and still have a big part to play in how black people are influenced on the surface. But again, I do have hope, and I am kind of excited about it because I am seeing almost every day a new black personality showing up on YouTube that is conservative. And they're not people that look like, Condoleezza Rice or look like Ben Carson. They're people that look like me. They're people that are in the hip hop community. They're people that got dreads, people, all different kinds of us that are starting to wake up, which is encouraging. There's a lot of work to be done, and there's a lot to be said for, my beliefs and my politics reach past just black people. It reaches to everybody, but obviously it's something that we talk about a lot because of where I come from. But
and it has to reach out not just to any particular race, because this is America, and
right.
we all live, we all die, we all succeed, or we all don't together.
Right.
Now,
and that's how it's always been.
We're going to have you back.
Definitely.
Okay, big time, because this is not finished. Okay, but right now, before I bring Sass back in, because Sass has gone totally quiet, which is kind of weird. Look here, you have a YouTube channel, don't you?
Yes, it's called Red Pill Reality.
Red Pill Reality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And my Instagram is the same thing, Red Pill Reality. You just put it on there. You can find it. Type it in YouTube at Red Pill Reality. And I'm actually getting ready to gear up. I'm gearing up to like really blast YouTube with, my brand of commentary. And my brand of commentary is infusing a lot of comedy, and just calling it like it is. Like I was telling you the last time we talked last week, something that strikes me as funny is I think Nancy Pelosi and Maxine Waters are twins. They're the negatives of each other. They both have crazy eyes. They both have the same hairstyle, and they're both as batty as all get out. So I think those two ladies were separated at birth or something. I try to see how we, it's getting back to what we were talking about earlier. We as conservatives need to really realize that although we don't want to feel like we are performing, or we don't want to feel like we're making something up in order to get attention, we've got to realize that how the society in which we live, you garner their attention by presenting your package in a certain way. You do not change your message, but with every generation, there's a different way to present the same message. And we have fallen way behind on our excellence in packaging. I was telling you this, for instance, that really made me want to punch my fist through my windshield. I was driving one day, and this was during the election, before during the primaries or whatever. And Ben Carson, whom I love, was, had a commercial on the radio. and he was trying to get people to come out to a rally and this and that and third. And he decided to try to have a rapper come and be on his commercial, and thinking that he was going to garner some of the younger people, which in and of itself is a good idea, but the execution of it was horrible. It was terrible. Like, it was so bad. It was so bad. And all I could think of, and then when I went to work that day and I asked them, did you hear that? Did you hear it? And they didn't even answer me, just busted up laughing. And so I see us doing things like that all the time. And that's why, people that would never normally listen to us, when they see these things, how we present it. And then you got the left, trying to make us look like we are the starch, we're the party of the old white man, and nobody wants to be an old white guy,
They have the old white men, for example, Robert De Niro. Right. I don't know if you pay attention. He's over there. He's bashing Trump all the time. He's over in Dubai, just trashing him. And he's saying that we're not a backwards country. We don't like to say we're a backwards country. We just say we're a country that's suffering from insanity at the moment because we voted for Trump. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. And
this piece of crap is overseas saying this crap.
Yeah. And then they wonder why certain countries, why we have to play from behind in order to regain our status in the world. Like, it cracks me up, like how these, and again, it's the liberal elite looking their nose down, and the regular people don't feel like they do. That's why.
And this piece of dog crap, De Niro, who made a living, off of playing characters with guns in both hands, who's against us having guns. Because we're just the commoners. We're commoners. We can't have guns.
It's the hypocrisy, the obvious hypocrisy that we all see. I sent you this article earlier that said why it's hard to get through to liberals. And there's now, and this is funny to me, there's now supposedly scientific research showing that they have the cognizant, I can't say that, never can say it right.
Cognizance ability.
Yeah, the dissonance.
Dissonance. Yes.
Yeah, where they almost cannot understand what we're saying because of their nurture, not nature, their nurture, how they've been nurtured through life. So what we say to them actually to them makes no sense.
Yeah, but we were also talking about that earlier. As Christians, we understand we're fallen. We're fallen beings. Right. We need Christ. Okay, right. So we understand the concept of being fallen, and so we empathize with our fellow human beings, whereas they don't need Jesus in their mind. They think that they are all important, all impotent, potent, whatever, and so we're the idiots.
Here's where it goes back to the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Here's where it goes back to that. Why we cannot separate the two. Because the Declaration of Independence, like I said earlier, gives legs to the Constitution. The Constitution is the guts, and it's what makes the body of America work. It's the brains, the guts, the liver, the lungs. But the Declaration of Independence is the legs, the hands, the heart of it. And the reason why I say that, and the legs and the hands and the heart of the Declaration of Independence, is where it says that, we have been created with inalienable rights by our Creator. Okay, so if you don't believe ultimately that there is a Creator who has set up moral standards, then everything is relative.
Or ethical principles.
Yeah, and now they won't admit to that, but that's how they live out their lives, and there's no rights or wrongs. That's why they come with well, I'm living out my truth. You have to live out your truth. Well, what if my truth contradicts with your truth? Then who wins? What if, I feel like my truth is that I should be able to be a mass murderer, and the strongest survive, and I shouldn't have to have consequences, because who are you to tell me that me killing people, if I'm strong enough, is wrong? Where does that come from?
If morality is relative, then who's to say you can't do that?
Exactly. So them saying that the whole "my truth, your truth" thing, coming from relativism, and originating from the denial that there is a creator, is the bane on our society. And I really believed in that. The real staunch Democrats, SJWs, their actual goal is to do away with the guts of the Constitution and replace it with their idea of quote unquote fairness.
Leninism.
Yeah, where it was a bunch of old white guys that wrote the Constitution, so that it can't be fair because our country doesn't look like that.
So let's go back to Leninism, written by an old white guy.
right. It doesn't. You see how it doesn't to you and I? It doesn't make any sense. Like they don't make any sense. So you want me to scrap the Constitution and go with pick any socialist guy that you want, who is written by old white guys. Now again, there's nothing wrong with old white guys. Let's be honest. A lot of quote unquote old white guys created things that we are enjoying to this day. So,
Well, now, let's don't give too much credit to their race. Okay, it just so happened that Christianity,
exactly.
It was Christianity that was prevalent in those days with those people.
And that's exactly right. And the only reason why I use that is, you when you're debating with these people, a tactic that I've learned is that I use their words against them, so that so it corners them and they can't get out. I learned that from Williams Lane Craig and from Dinesh D'Souza, and from more contemporary right now. What's the Jewish guy?
Ben Shapiro.
Ben Shapiro. That dude is a beast.
There's so many places I disagree with him, but he is so fast, so sharp-witted. You don't have time to say, I'm gonna cross swords with you here, because he's moved on to 3 other topics. That guy's awesome.
Right.
It's just incredible.
Have you seen the video of him when Piers Morgan had a TV show, and he was on there debating gun control with Piers Morgan? If you look that video up, Piers Morgan looks like the biggest idiot in the world, and you feel bad for him because he gets slayed so bad.
Well, he is the biggest. Well, there's always Rachel Mad Cow, but yeah, he is a pretty big idiot.
You just said a name that, like, she, boy, or she, who, I don't even know where to start with her.
Sass.
Yes, sir.
I have hogged this time. Do you have anything you want to say? Anything you want to ask? Jump in right now, because we've got to make another video or audio. I'm sorry, another podcast with Kwuam. And so, how do you want to end this one? Jump in.
Well, I mean, you spoke with them, so you had a better idea where this was going. I didn't really, so I'll save up my questions for the next time.
Okay. Kwuam?
Yes, sir.
We are going to run out of time now. We're about to make 3 podcasts in one podcast, okay?
I enjoy it, man.
But look, I'm telling you, this is going to turn into a tri-podcast. There's no doubt about that. I'm so glad you have no idea how much we enjoy having you on. Now, what is the name of your business?
Okay, so there's side thing. The business that I do, believe it or not, is graphic design. I have a graphic design firm that I've started, where we do high-end graphics. Where I'm actually looking to do, believe it or not, is try to up the ante visually of even our conservative brothers and sisters. That's kind of a dream of mine. But I do all branding, rebranding. It's called Brooklyn Bridge Media Design. That's what it's called. Same website, brooklynbridgemediadesign.com. And then on Instagram, and I would love to do, if you need rebranding, I've been doing that for 25 years. So I know that's my business that I do full time. And then on the side, I'm working on my media presence, going to up that ante with Red Pill Reality, just kind of raising awareness, just throwing my hat in the ring. My wife gave me the go-ahead, to go ahead and go all out. You know, like that Rocky scene in Rocky 2 when she came out of the coma and she told him she wanted him to win. Well, there was a moment that my wife did the same with me because for a while she was afraid of the backlash that would happen. But this past election fired her up so much that she's like, go, do it. Get out there.
Awesome. Kwuam, you've given us a lot of hope. I mean, you're in Georgia. I'm in Alabama. Sasquatch is in California. And there are 3, and your wife is 4, my wife's 5, and Lady Sass conservative as well?
Yes, she is.
6. There are 6 people.
My parents.
Your parents.
My sister and her husband.
We're getting close to a dozen, but still,
there we go.
Still, I think that we are doomed as a nation. So, Sass, what do we do?
Well, we're gonna drink up.
Kwuam, let's hang out again next week. Good night.
Let's do it. All right, man.
I must admit on some occasions I went out like a punk in a chump or a sucker or something to that effect. Respect I used to never get, cause all I got was upset when it used to be like and try to sweat it and like the lip. For no reason at all I can't recall rolling C's in my face. Down the hall, kicking it in the back of the school, eating chicken at 3. Wondering why's everybody always picking on me. I tried to talk and tell them, chill out, ain't nothing.